My name is Frank Boyce. I worked at Belleville Emergency Department for 30 years. And at the same time, I went with Doctors Without Borders quite a few times. Started a lot of meetings now by acknowledging that we're on the traditional ancestral and unceded territory of the Haudenosaunee, whose historical relation with the land continues. We also want to thank St. Joseph's Church for providing this space and the tea and coffee. And we want to thank sponsors of the event, Belleville for Justice and Peace, which is a group that Shahid started. Independent Jewish Voices, the Global Sumud, Flotilla, and Amnesty International. So we'll get right to it. The flotillas, there have been quite a number of flotillas and single ships too that have approached Gaza trying to go through the blockade. Almost all of them have been stopped. The one in 2010, 10 people got killed when the ships were taken over by the Israeli Defense Force. There haven't been any killings since then, but there's been a lot of unnecessary nastiness. So the flotilla that Shahid was on, they knew what they were getting into. And they felt strongly that it was worth doing in spite of that, to mostly to bring the world's attention back to Gaza a little bit. It's been going on for so long that, you know, it doesn't get a lot of newspaper coverage anymore here. Shahid has lived in Belleville for the last 22 years. He's a computer engineer with a master's degree from Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute in the States. He started that group in Belleville for Justice and Peace, and they go up to North Front and Bell Boulevard every afternoon, 1:30 to 3:30, for the same cause. He wants this to be not about him. Is that still working? Doesn't sound like it. Is it? Oh, okay. It's not about him, it's about the Palestinians and the continuing disaster in Gaza. So I will turn it over to Shahid Mahmood.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Frank. I'm humbled to be here to share my experience with you. And as Frank said, it's not about me, it's about Gaza, it's about Palestine, it's about the plight of the people and injustice that's going on that has somehow gone off the minds of people. The genocide continues, the bloodshed continues, the hunger continues, the starvation continues, the occupation continues, and the world is not doing what it's supposed to be doing. The humanity is sleeping. And that's what prompted some group of people to do something. We didn't have to do it. We had our own lives. We could have just lived happily as we could have, but people cannot just see injustice going and then sleep, and some people just cannot accept that. We were compelled to, we had to take some action, and the organization, the group of people, they got together called Global Smooth Flotilla. That's a collection of activists from around the world. And as Frank said, they had been going on to launching those flotilla missions towards Gaza for more than a decade now. And at least 2 of them were successful in breaking the siege. And the rest of them had partial success. This mission that was launched in May of 2026, this year, again has very simple and straightforward objectives. Break the siege, which is illegal, No country is expected or supposed to block humanitarian aid going to a group of people who need them. So that's illegal siege that we want to show people that it is indeed illegal, and we wanted to break that. Secondly, provide humanitarian aid to the people of Gaza, which is something that is not very well known. But all of our boats were, like almost 75% of the capacity of the boat was filled with humanitarian aid. So if you could see some of the part of the ship, you will see in the background. My own ship, it was called Kasri Sadabad, was full of food, baby formula. We had diapers, we had ladies' hygiene supplies, and we had cans and cans of non-perishable food items that we were carrying. And there was a huge tanker of diesel that we wanted to go take to Gaza, where it was badly needed for the hospitals to run their generators. That was the objective of our ship. Thirdly, to stand in solidarity with the people of Gaza, because they right now are helpless. They right now don't have anyone to speak for them. There is no single world government that is speaking for them. There is humanitarian missions. There are common people just like you and I who are speaking for them, but nobody in power that is speaking for them or taking any action for them. So we wanted to show solidarity, that we are alive. Humanity is not dead. Although it is weak, although it does not have power right now, but humanity is still alive. And thankfully, those messages went to Gaza. Their plight still goes on. The killing still goes on. But they have seen us. They have seen the flotilla coming. And we saw their videos, and they were excited, and they were welcoming us. And one thing that I wanted to mention specifically, that one of the boat that went through the siege, which you will see shortly, Kasri Sadabad, that was my boat, part of the boat broke, and it went actually to Gaza. And that broke the siege. And that part of the mission fulfilled the one of our commitment to break the siege. It went through whatever blockade they had. It provided humanitarian aid. There were aid on that ship. There were a bunch of food items, very small food item, but they were real food. There was a can of pickle, a jar of pickle, and there were a bag of rice, and 2 or 3 more items of pasta. And there were solar panels on the top of the ship that went to Gaza, and there was a wooden part on top of it that went there, and people sent video from Gaza that we welcome this, whatever you have sent, we feel it, we hear a connection. And it is not symbolic, we will actually use those things. And that's the second thing that mission accomplished, is that provided real humanitarian aid to the people of Gaza, who, no matter how small or big it is, but it actually fulfilled its objective in its own capacity. And thirdly, they knew we are standing with them. There is a humanity that is still feeling for them, that is still has heart, that is beating for the pain and suffering for the people. And that's what they know is real, and that's what they know is happening, and that what gave them hope. So that was part of our ship. So this is what you just saw. So this is the wheel from our ship, the ship that I was on, Kasri Sadabad, and the people of Gaza retrieved that, and they took it in one of the tents, and the person who took it, he showcased it as a prized possession. And that was, I think, kind of a miracle, if you would, because the ship was in the middle of the ocean. It could have gone anywhere. Literally, that was the remotest thing that it could have gone. The closest thing was Cyprus, or it could have gone to Egypt, or back to Turkey, or Greece, where most of the ships are right now retrieving. But it decided to go to Gaza. Somehow it knew that this is my destination, and part of it reached there. I think that's a miracle. So in terms of the ongoing talk, I will just talk for about not more than half an hour or so. Feel free to grab any food or snacks you would. And if you have any question, we usually have in the end, but if you have something that needs to be interrupted, then there is no issue. You can ask me in the middle. So I'll just go over the sequence of things that happen. My personal journey started on by the end of April 29th, where I departed from Pearson Airport, going through multiple airports, and then reached Turkey, where my final ship was to be assigned and departed from. So after a series of planning and management things, we departed on 14th of May, and we went in the sea as a group. Part of the mission that was in Turkey was met with partial mission that was coming from Greece. Some of the mission that departed before us, as you probably know, was already intercepted in the middle of the sea near Greece waters, and they were arrested and captured and then sent back. But a lot of those people who were not sent back, they decided to come to Turkey and go again, and they did. A few of my colleagues also who were with my ship and my mission, they were with me. All in all, on 14th of May, there were about 54 ships, 54 boats, civilian boats, completely self-financed and funded by civilians, no government, no organization, no NGO, no external funding, only by the power of the people. 54 ships from 45 different countries and about 510 individuals boarded those ships. Some ships, mine was hosting about 20 people, and some were less, some were more. And total of 510 people were on board all those ships, and we departed on 14th of May. We took different paths. Mostly they were, of course, directing to Gaza. We took a small stop at another port called Antalya in Turkey. Some of the ships needed repair, and they had to be managed and shifted. And finally, when we started our final journey towards Gaza, that's where we just said goodbye to the land, and we just looked forward to Gaza and nothing more, nothing less. At that time, around 16 or 17, we were on the watch for so-called interception, which is abduction, because there is no legal word other than kidnapping or abduction, what these occupation forces did to us. In the international waters, they have no authority to stop anyone, to take anyone's possessions, to capture anyone, to kidnap anyone. This is all activity that is similar to a pirate activity. And that's what they did to us. So the so-called interception, which is abduction, that started around 16th or 17th of May, and they were well prepared. They had military ships that you will see shortly. They had speedboats, and they had the IOF terrorists who had military uniforms and guns. They were on board speedboats, and they had a proper procedure. They have sorted out how to deal with or defend themselves against us who were carrying baby formula, which is very threatening to them. So the so-called interception or abduction started around 16th or 17th, and they started capturing one ship at a time. The mode of operation was that there would be a speedboat that goes circling around that particular boat they target. So this video shows a little bit of how the actual abduction occurs. So they pretty much circle the ship, and they make announcement. They threaten for firing or other actions, and then they jump on the ship and they capture people. So they started doing that since 16th or 17th of May. At that time, our ship captain decided to take a different route. So instead of going the straight line towards Gaza, we took a route towards south that was going a little bit towards Egypt, Alexandria port. And the idea was to go in the water that are owned by Egypt. For some reason, that was decided to be the safest course of action. The second reason was that there was some kind of a storm that was about to happen, and we wanted to stay close to the ports if that happens, so we can anchor. That particular course of action made it difficult for the IOF to capture us. And for 2 whole days, they could not find us or could not capture us, or they didn't have resources to just deal with everyone at the same time, which was one part of the objective, because we wanted to have so many ships that it would exhaust their resources. For that reason, they couldn't get to us until 18th of May. And we were kind of around, I would say, around 100 nautical miles from Gaza and in the international waters. At that time, they came to us on 18th of May, around 4 o'clock. Same type of procedure that you just saw. They circled the boats and they fired shots at our boat. They demanded to know who the captain is. We refused to answer them. They demanded that we comply to them or do as they want, and we kept quiet, and they started firing shots at our boat. Eventually, they boarded the ship on our ship, and they one by one took us into their speedboats, just like prisoners. They kidnapped us, put us in their speedboats. The speedboat took us to another ship where they handcuffed us. They handcuffed us with zip ties, blindfolded us, and made us sit into this pain position of kneeling down that you might have seen and some people are showing for quite some time. At that time, another crew took over and they took us to the real place of our containment, which is what we called a prison ship. It is a military ship that one of them you saw. It's a gray military ship made in USA, and they made kind of a concentration camp, like a makeshift concentration camp, using 4 containers. So there were at least 2 to 3 such ships that were in existence at that point. In the 4 containers, around the 4 containers, there were, this is the scene inside of that container. There is an open area in between the containers, and the 4 containers are surrounding us. And one of them had an incoming route where speedboats would come and bring the prisoners in, and they would take our clothes off and give us 1 layer of our own clothes, and then they throw us into this middle area where you see people are kneeling down. So throughout the journey, that was the most painful time, personally for me, because what they were doing is, at the moment they bring any single person in, they would beat them in one of the containers. This would be. In one of the containers that is one of the connected ones. So this is the military ship where they take us. And that container they kept for the purpose of torturing every single person who comes in, tackled by 4 of those terrorists. They call themselves IDF, we call themselves IOF, Israeli Occupation Forces. They beat them with bare hands, they beat them with the butts of their guns, and they kicked them with their boots, they smacked their faces with their fist, they tossed them onto the floor or onto the walls of the container. We could not see them, but we could hear their screams, we could hear their cries, we could hear the bumping and bouncing of them tossing around in the container. That was the most painful thing for me. Throughout my life, I have never heard anyone being tortured so close to me, in front, behind the bars. It was horrific. And when they're done, they open the door and then toss the person inside in the middle of the container. And when I went there, people already had suffered 3 days of brutality, and they described the horror that was being inflicted upon them. Every new person that comes in after torture is not able to walk at all or talk, let alone. and they would give him whatever water they have. They had no medicine, they have no other medical aid or anything. Some people had their ankles and legs broken, some have their ribs broken, some had concussion in their head, and some people had been injected with some unknown substance, and multiple women, 12 women, were abused in unspeakable way. They were all being tortured in that particular place. And in my container, there was few doctors. One of the doctor was actually the sister of Irish president, Margaret. She was helping people in whatever capacity she could, giving them water and making some kind of slings for their arms. Some had shoulders broken. And they told me that the total amount of water they had over there were 3 half-filled bottles. There were about more than 100 people, and there were 3 bottles that were half-filled of water. And they were preserving it only for those who come as torture, after getting tortured, just one sip at a time. And they told me that when they asked for water, one time, they laughed and they flooded the whole area, the middle area, with seawater, which was smelly and salty, not suitable for human consumption. And they laughed. And second time, they dropped water from a bottle, emptied it in front of them in the middle, and said, "Hey, here's your water." They just felt pleasure in doing this. Long story short, so at the middle, in that same ship, which we call torture ship right now, some people decided to demand water. So the sister president of Ireland, along with 3 or 4 other people and myself, we stood in the middle of this area, and she demanded them to give us water. Please give us water. You're supposed to give us water. It is your responsibility to give us water. We are thirsty. We will die. We are injured. We are sick. And she kept speaking for like 15 minutes, and they just went deaf. Nobody responded. All the soldiers standing on top of those containers, pointing gun all the time at us, didn't respond. And then after repeating this plea multiple times, one person, very clear accent, either Canadian or US, he said, "You should have thought of that before coming here," very clearly. Rest of them were speaking like Hebrew accent or Israeli accent, but this guy was American or Canadian. And he said that with a full hateful vengeance, as if they're doing something right. Anywho, afterwards, what happened was the next person that came in, he faced extra torture. They tortured him really brutally. It was one of our colleagues in my ship, and they tortured him so bad that he had to be hospitalized afterwards. His kidneys were ruptured, and he suffered extraordinary pain, and he could not walk for like the next 3 or 4 days as long as he was with us. But after torturing him, they dropped a case of water, like the standard case of water. And so that was a little bit relief for us. So we distributed that, divided whatever we could have. And then next 4 or 5 people they throw in, they give them extra torture, and every person whom they dropped in, they also dropped a case of water. It was kind of saying that, okay, here's your water, but here's the price that you pay. It's like kind of a collective punishment they also inflict on Gaza, as you now can connect that when they lose something somewhere, they take their anger on the people of Gaza by bombing them, by killing them, by burning them, because that's the sick mentality they have. So this is one sickening thing we experienced personally over there, that this is how their brain works. This is how they operate on. So that was the ordeal on that ship. And after that, you saw the famous pictures where we were, so the space on the container was non-existent. We were about 100 people in this one shipping container, and there was barely space to stand. So we had to walk out to make room for people who are sick or who want to sit or lie down. And periodically, these IOF terrorists would throw stun grenades or flash grenades in the middle, that made a banging sound, which is extremely loud. It's like deafening. So you have to run away to get away from its horror. It's very loud and it's very flashy, and it's meant to terrorize you. And they repeat it like after every few hours or so. In terms of food, they dropped a big bag of dry bread, like those long Subway type of bread. They just dropped a big bag, just like a garbage bag, but transparent, drop it in the middle, just like you feed the zoo animals. Nobody that I knew touched it. Most of us were on hunger strike, including myself. But others who were not even on hunger strike, they didn't even touch it because it was just dehumanized to even see that as a food. So we survived that for 3 nights. For me, it was just one night, which was one night too many. And the next day on, I think, 19th or 20th, because there was no clock or calendar, we were moved out. Before moving out, they put us into this stress position, this one. Just like these people holding guns on top of our heads with lasers. We can see lasers on our faces coming on those guns. They put us in this position for 3 hours. 3 straight hours. It was extremely hot sun. Some people fainted. And this torture was appended by a very annoying and depressing music of some kind, which some thought were their national anthem, some thought whatever that was. But it was very depressing, satanic music that they were playing for 3 hours in a loop continuously, in a very loud sound from the speaker, which probably you can't see it on some of the containers. For 3 hours, it was unbearable. I would not recommend you try that at home. But if you do, you won't be able to survive like more than 2 minutes or anything, because your knees will start to scream and your head cannot hold down for long because your circulation is all messed up. And especially if your hands are tied, your hands will lose circulation. Some of my friends lost circulation in their fingers. I also have still some tingling effect on my finger. My doctor said it will recover soon, but it lost some sensitivity for quite some time. I didn't have to go through that. I didn't do anything wrong. I had nothing to do with these guys. They picked us up from international water. We're going in a totally different direction. They picked us up in the middle and started beating us and torturing us for no reason whatsoever, as if we are their enemies. This is the most horrifying thing that I see, that getting such treatment while we did nothing wrong to those people individually, but they were treating us as if we are their personal enemies with such a hate, with such an anger. You can see from their eyes, they're just full of hate, full of grudge. They just want an opportunity to beat us. After moving from this place, they took us to another ship. I think this ship was also moving, we couldn't tell. They took us to what we later found out was an Ashdod port. That is a port in Israel, major port with whatever they do. They took us over there and took us in terms of what's supposed to be like the immigration check, which was some kind of office-looking thing where there were tables and there were clerks sitting behind the PCs and stuff. And the mode of operation was that for every hostage, I would call myself hostage, every hostage there is one IOF soldier who would grab their neck and push their neck all the way close to the ground when it's at least few feet away, and then they would grab them. And that's how they moved them from table to table, one table to another table to another table, and where we were interviewed and interrogated, and we were asked to sign things and ask questions. But that painful horror will continue with us. One IOF soldier would always be grabbing the neck of every single person while they were going through this process, and including myself. And they asked some questions. At that time, I asked for a lawyer, because we were told we should ask for a lawyer. And I also asked for a Canadian consulate to be present. And the person who was sitting behind the desk, so-called some kind of a officer, not on a uniform, he smiled and smirked and laughed. Eventually, I found that there were some people who were moving around with a different kind of name tag and stuff. And he said, "These are the lawyers, you want to talk to them?" I had no idea who they were, but the lawyer came to me and she said, I'm from Adala. So we were given training that Adala is the legal organization in occupied Palestine that is working for on behalf of Palestinians and others who are abducted. And we should be okay to communicate with them. So I talked to her. She gave me an advice, don't sign anything, blah, 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 etc. Pretty much she couldn't have done anything more than that, but she did what she could. So I'm grateful to those organization called Adala. And afterwards, they tried to convince me to sign something, which I didn't, of course. And they asked me why I came to Israel. I said, I have no intention of coming to Israel. I never wanted to come to Israel. You guys grabbed me, handcuffed me, blindfolded me, and brought me here. So you guys should tell me why you brought me here. And he obviously had no answer to that. And they fulfilled whatever they were doing. And finally, everybody was sent to a prison. In a bus, we were stuffed into a bus and we went into a prison. During that time, we were not given any water or food or anything. We were not even asked if we are hungry or thirsty. Oh yeah, one more thing. Before we went there, we went through another session of 3 hours of kneeling down. And that's the time when this famous video of Belleville that went viral, he came to visit us just to show off whatever he's doing. He's done some accomplishment. Turns out he did exactly what we wanted the world to see, that how horrific and terrorist these guys are to innocent civilians. And he did show it himself. And I don't know what happened to him, but we are very grateful that he was stupid enough to do this. And now the whole world sees their horror. Otherwise, there was no way, other than verbal account, to tell you what's happened. So what you saw was much worse than what everybody was being experienced to. And these guys put us into this torture position, kneeling down position for another 3 hours on that Ashdod port before they shipped us to the jail. For 3 hours, we were in that position. At that time, people who previously were suffering the effects of torture were already in pain. There was a guy who was in front of me. His ankle was broken. He couldn't even bend his knee. He was trying to make some kind of comfort position so he's not in pain too much. But they wouldn't let him change his position or anything. His head must be down. He has to be in the kneeling down position. Whatever they're saying, every once in a while they will come into a very loud, insulting and rude voice and tell us, heads down, no sound, no looking, no peeking, and insulting, humiliating, dehumanizing. That's what their whole ordeal was. And after 3 hours, that's a very long time. And as I said, you cannot kneel down in that position for more than a few minutes, let alone 3 hours. After 3 hours, we couldn't barely walk. I was mostly in a good health condition. I couldn't stand up and walk because all my circulation was messed up. So it took me a while to balance myself. But I see people in front of me whose ankle was broken, and he was literally crying. He said, I cannot walk, please, I need some help, need some crutches, need some wheelchair or something, please. And they first didn't listen, but when he kept repeating, one guy said, okay, you help him. He asked another guy to help him. And help means just lean in next to him, both handcuffed, both cannot walk, both blindfolded, but one guy is helping another one who is injured. Very painful position when they moved us into what they called a prison, but it was a concentration camp. And you guys must have seen pictures of the cages, human cages. There are barbed wires around, and there are people sitting in there and kneeling down position. That's the place where they took us. They took us in that prison camp, which is, we learned, was Keziot. Keziot, it's a desert. And inside the desert, they created this concentration camp. They took our clothes and they gave us this piece. All of our clothes were taken and we were given these. So this writing is later, we wrote later. And we crossed this symbol of terror, which is the symbol of their jail or whatever. And this is the only thing that they gave us. In this Kiziot jail, we spent 1 night, and that was another 1 night and 2 days. Those were days of horror and night of terror. They dragged us around just like before, with our neck, head down. Again, Ben Gavir also came there, and they did some torture for people just to please him. And they put us in very small confined jail cell. There were many cells they took us one by one, but they picked the smallest one in which we were around 50 people, and we were just standing close to each other. And we couldn't even breathe. They shut down all the windows and everything that could bring oxygen in. And after just a few minutes, we were just suffocating. It's just impossible to survive and breathe. And after, once in a while, they would open the door and call some name and then close the door. And that's the time we got some oxygen to breathe. So that ordeal continued until night. We didn't have any idea of time, but as we saw the sky or the darkness was spreading around, we knew it was nighttime. They took us to another kind of this prison, which is based on cages. It was like a cage type of thing, in which there are metallic bunk beds, and that's where we were supposed to spend the night. Before that, they showed us a very stupid and very gruesome video of some kind of a torture, which was supposed to be happening on some of the Israelis by some Hamas apparently, and the video was just very gruesome. And they forced us to see it, and they were poking us and getting our expression, whether we condemn that or we appreciate that or whatever, and they were very violent at that moment. They just seemed to be out of control. So we all kept quiet because we knew that whatever we say, they're going to lash out on us. Afterwards, they sent us to that little cage prison for the night. They gave us a little thin foam, like a 2-inch thick or thin foam as a bed and a blanket. And no food. There was a water cooler which was half full with water. We just took one sip just to survive. There was no restroom. There was one urinal. They were all men in the prison I was in. We used that urinal, which was very rusty, smelly, and kind of disgusting. But that's the only thing we had over there in terms of our usage for our needs. In the morning, they came to us again, and they brought a box, a cardboard box full of some kind of sandwich type of things. Of course, nobody touched that. And that's when they stuffed us into buses. Again, we were all hungry, and we all had handcuffs. They were metallic handcuffs at that time. Before that, they also put shackles in our ankles when we were walking. But at that time, they only gave us handcuffs, the metallic handcuffs, and put us into buses. And those buses drove for about, 2 hours at least, 2 to 3 hours. And we later found out that it was, they were taking us to an airport called Ramon Airport. And at that point, we had no idea, of course, where we're going, what time it is, where we were, but we were guessing that we are going to some kind of a port for deportation. And one guess was that they're taking us to Jordan, the other guess was that they're taking us to Greece, and turns out none of them was true. When they took to that airport, Ramon Airport, and they took it out, it was kind of a normal looking airport, but all empty. There were no passengers, no nothing, no staff, completely empty, and they were just IOF soldiers or policemen standing there to drag us and guard us. At that time, we saw a line of civilians standing behind the ribbons. And at that point, I saw Canadian consulate. He was in Israel. The Canadian consulate in Israel was there, and he waved at me. And he said, "Any Canadian?" And I waved back, and he said, "Yes." And he said, "We'll see you in Istanbul." And that's when we knew that where we were going. And when we went to the terminal area of the airport, of course, there was no staff, no nothing. We were just going straight to the gates where there was only one plane, that was Turkish airline plane. And we found out that Turkish government arranged a chartered flight for us to get us out of there. All other planes were military planes. They were US Army fuel tanker planes. There were at least 3 or 4 that I counted. That was the whole airport was about. At that time, we knew that our ordeal is finished, but we also knew that that is not the case for 10,000 or more Gazans who are still in illegal prison, who are still suffering torture, who are still be treated with the same punishment. Next morning when they wake up, they will still be hungry. They will still be subject to torture and killing. But for us, we find ourselves privileged. Most of us were members of first world countries. Our governments spoke up. Canadian government also spoke up and condemned the actions. Other governments did the same. So we found ourselves privileged to be part of the society that in which the government did some kind of a pressure, but that did not exist for the Palestinians. There's no government that speaks for them. There are no voices. Even the public voices are just dying down. Anyone who speaks for them is subjected to resistance and opposition. And there are consequences for people who speak up for Palestinians in Gaza. We knew that the privilege we have, they do not. And we all pledge that we will continue to use our privilege, use our power, whatever is in our hands to progress our mission. And we continue our pledge till day, and the mission keeps on going. At that point when we came back in Turkey, we were treated in the hospital by the staff and by the doctors. They took our medical examination. They took urine samples for people, for everybody. They still have the reports. We were met by a Canadian consulate in Istanbul. They took our statement, they took our testimony, and they gave us hope that they are going to raise the matter with Israel on state level, which later we found that they have spoken, Anita Anand, the foreign minister, has spoken with her counterpart in Israel. We have not seen any concrete results out of that. We have not seen Canada is making any sanctions against Israel. We have not seen Canada has stopped shipping arms to Israel. We have not seen Canada taking any concrete action to provide at least temporary humanitarian aid to the people of Gaza. And we have not seen Canada doing anything to stop the genocide or stop the occupation. That's why our mission continues. That's why we will continue to do whatever we can within our power to make our governments realize what needs to be done, where they're standing and where they're supposed to be standing. And each and every one of us who gets this message, there is something everyone can do. We can raise our voice. Minimum we can do is to be aware of this reality of the situation. There is lots of confusion. There is lots of misinformation and propaganda going on. The truth is dying and truth is being hidden. And we need to make sure that at least we know the truth and we spread the truth within our own circle, with our own families or friends or whomever we have influence or access to. We tell them the truth, because right this moment in this city of Belleville, there are people that exist who don't think anything is happening anywhere. They don't think there is any genocide going on. They don't think any child is being murdered or killed. They think it's all fake. And this is so depressing that in this age of information, people can be so dumb and stupid not to understand or even acknowledge what is happening as a reality. Some people who do acknowledge that those are also not worthy of mentioning, who support this genocide and somehow find an excuse that it should be done. Those are not something that we want to engage with. But there are people who genuinely lack information. They have good heart in their body that is misguided, and they need someone to guide them. And they need someone to tell the truth and someone to support them. And there are people who know the truth, but they do not have courage to do anything about it, or do not know there is anything they can do about it, or they can help. And those are the people we need to reach out. Reach out to our MPs, reach out to our Prime Minister, write letter, engage into raising your voice. Join a protest if you can. If you don't want to be visible, the least thing you can do, which is very effective, is what is called BDS. Boycott, divest, and sanction. Boycott the products that are built in Israel or indirectly benefit Israel. Boycott the companies or brands, McDonald's, Starbucks, Walmart, Pizza Hut, Coke, Pepsi, Fanta. Pretty much 90% of junk food indirectly supports Israel. You can find out when you go to the website. It's an app called No Thanks, and you can install on your iPhone. You can scan any product with a barcode and you'll see whether it's supporting Israel or not. And that pretty much is the summary of what I have to say. And the plight of Palestinian continues, and unfortunately it is getting less and less visible. And people are just thinking this is the way it should be, which is very sad and disappointing. This must not be normalized. This is not normal to have 5 people killed every day. This is not normal to have children burned every few days. This must not be normal. This must not be acceptable by any civilized human society of today. We must make sure that this remains to be visible. This remains to be something that is outrageous. This remains to be unacceptable. This makes us human. This makes us all connected together with one heart, with one cause. So I would ask everyone to pledge that you will not let this become normal. You will not let Israel get away with their crimes. We pledge to make them hold responsible for their actions, and justice must be served. Thank you very much. Please. Free Palestine. Thank you very much. Frank.
So we'll just have a short break here. If you want to get something, you want to go to the washroom, do that, and then we'll have question period. I was asked what the website was that he mentioned for finding out if you should boycott items, and it's called No Thanks. You got to download the app, and then you scan items that you're thinking of buying, and it'll tell you. So it's a little more complicated than just looking at a list, but anyway. And I'm to mention again, The Belleville for Justice and Peace does meet every Sunday, 1:30 to 3:30 at North Front and Bell Boulevard. So, any questions? Okay, I will.
I can bellow without that.
Well, because some of us don't hear all that.
Well, you're right. One of them. Shahid, I know it seems like a mundane question, but did they take all your travel documents and did they return them? And if not, how did you get back into Canada? I know it's a mundane question, but.
Yeah, no, they took our documents and they gave back our documents. But they had a hard time keeping them, but apparently they were not very professional enough. So they took our documents, they put them into a bag and they were carrying them around. But every few hours they would come and check every person's name in accordance with the document that they're carrying. And at least one person has reported that his passport was lost and they went to different type of route. But for us, they somehow managed to keep it, and the passports at least. I was also carrying my driver license and another SIM card and health card as well. They throw it away. They only kept the passport.
Shahid, how many days in total were you abducted, like from your original abduction until you were finally released and flown to Turkey?
Yeah, so I spent in the so-called prison ship. There were 2 days and 1 night I spent in the prison ship, and the other final day we were moved to the land prison, Kizior prison, and over there also I spent 1 night and the one following day. So a total of 2 nights and 3 days I spent in their custody. So.
Shahid, are you going back?
If needed, anytime.
Wow.
And it's not just me, it's everybody. Whenever we were released, other journalists asked that question, do you regret going there? Are you feeling going back? I said, when is the next mission? I'm going to sign up right now. Nobody was backing down.
I know you mentioned there was unspeakable things done to women, which sexual abuse. Was there any men that were sexually abused as well in the group?
That's not to my knowledge. Nobody that I personally spoke with has reported that. It was only reported by women in their public testimony, and they were experienced to all levels of violence against women that you can think of. And that includes, according to the public testimony of the sister of Irish Prime Minister. I wanted to repeat that because it was not clear. Her name is Margaret Connelly. She was also one of the women who were abused in a horrible way. And at least 12 women experienced that. And it's in their public testimony and it's unspeakable. I don't want to repeat what happened to them. It's horrible.
Excuse me. Part of the horror of October 7th, 2023 was the sort of understanding that the Israeli state, their response would be apocalyptic, and it has been. It's just become clear to me over the last few years that there's no one they wouldn't kill. And I just wonder, at what point did you decide that you don't care if that's going to happen? Because that's obviously, that seems to be that you risked your life for this.
Yeah, so if I understand the question, the expected response from Israel was threatening and all out, and we of course didn't know what they're going to do. And we were being given information that they're going to be brutal and they're going to up a level of what they had been responding to before. And Israel officially announced that we will be treating you as a terrorist, and we will repeat 2010 what we did. That is also on the table. What they did on 2010 Flotilla was they murdered 10 of those people. It's called Marmara mission that was from Turkey. So we were aware of that, but everyone has their own reason to continue, keep going on, and we thought that not going is a much bigger risk than going. We do face a risk of getting abducted, getting kidnapped, getting tortured, or even worse, getting killed. But if we don't do this, this will become normal. Everyone will believe that, okay, we should not touch these guys, these are dangerous, let them do whatever they're doing. That is unacceptable. We should not accept that as a human being. That is the lowest of the humanity we can be reached at. And everyone connects to it, everyone believes it, and this is what kept going for everyone, that we must speak up. The risks that we are facing are minute and uncomparable to the risk of doing nothing. So we refuse to do nothing. That's what kept us going.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What happened to the food on the shipment?
So yeah, so the everything that is on the ship, they wanted to sink it. Our ship has some of the food that actually reached Gaza that I mentioned. I keep mentioning, although it's small, but I would not call it small. Some food went to Gaza. Important. That is the important thing. But everything else is in our ship sank to the ocean. For other ships, there are floating. Few of them sunk, but some of them are floating, and there is a follow-up mission that is ongoing right now that is retrieving those ships and bringing them back to the ports, or retrieving whatever amount, whatever the contents they have. And what they did in previous mission is that they retrieve the aid, and then they put it back into the backlog of aid that is going to Gaza through land, and which of course we know that it can be cut off anytime, it has delays, and it is not sufficient, and they keep on reducing it, how much gets in, but we still manage to put it back into that backlog, so it eventually gets there somehow. So Vern, and this lady has a question. Vern has been asked.
Thank you, Shahid. I'm curious about these images behind you. Who took those, and
Yeah.
how did you manage to get them out?
Yeah, so there was another question again about the source of those images. So this specific image and those that were of the prison, they were released by Israeli themselves, including the video of Ben Gvir.
Yes.
For whatever reason, they thought it's a good idea to show people how brutal they are, because somehow in their mind this is a sign of power or strength and teaching us a lesson. This is what we'll do to you if you come again.
Don't try doing it again.
Don't do it again, and that kind of thing. But actually that turns out to be in our favor, and we actually wanted the world to see this. This is their true picture. And we were stripped off our belongings, of course. We had nothing, no camera, no nothing. We were in our single layer of clothes, which they also took in the end. So we were seeing this horror, and we're thinking that we wish the world could see what they're doing to us. And it is just a small fraction of what they do to the Gaza and Palestinian, but at least we are the people who came from these first world countries who care for humanity to some degree, and they care for justice and peace, and they stand for peace for everywhere. And if they see it, maybe that will wake them up. But we didn't have any means. Thankfully, they did our job and they released those videos and pictures, and that is like a great a substance to our message.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now the world knows it's not just verbal account, but there is visual account as well. And these are really, this is exactly what happened. These things that you see, these are zip ties. These are not zip ties. These are meant as handcuffs, and they're, depending on how tight they are, they can break the circulation. I still have marks over here, the bruises over here. They tie them so tight that they almost cut the circulation, and then they come walk towards everyone and say, hey, is it too tight? People lose hands because of that. Do you know why you came here? Do you learn any lesson? And then if someone really is about to lose their hand and becomes decolorization, which happened to some people, then they actually make them lose only just to show that they are merciful to you. So those are real.
Shahid, I have two questions for you, a short
Yes,
question, but
sure.
important, and a longer question. Were you able to communicate with each other in these imprisoned situations?
Yes. That was one blessing we had. We connected together with each other, and now that you brought this point, that was the most awakening experience personally for me, when I was connected to so many people from diverse backgrounds, from different countries, different cultures, different religions, different beliefs, different manifestos. They just came together for some same cause, one cause and one only cause, the cause of humanity. The cause of humanity that connected everyone together, and we had one voice, that we are standing against injustice, we are standing against genocide, and we were all talking to each other as if we are just family. We're just bonding instantly. The moment we saw other, we just hugging each other, and we're consoling each other and telling our stories, and we kind of bound together, and we found our bondage that normally take years for other people to understand each other. When we try to find someone, what is their reality, how, if they're good to be hanging out with or around us. With this cause, it's an instant bond. We know that these are the people who stand for humanity. They are sacrificing their own peace or risking their own life for a single cause, and they don't care. And this has connected all of us together. And that was a great moment of unity. And that's where faith in humanity was restored for me, to see all those people coming in for one cause and one cause only.
And here is my longer question. Some of us have known you for a long time, others in our group for a very long time, at the corner, the street corner. Can you describe how you got to the place where you made the decision to do this? How you went from the street corner to joining the flotilla?
People ask that question. So in the street, basically, I was always tried to join the protest for Palestine against genocide for as much as I could in my capacity, but that kind of took a high speed and accelerated form after 2023 and November, when we started regular Sunday protests. And those were just a demonstration that we are not letting it slide by. We are making public aware of what is going on, and we will not back down. And that is still going on every Sunday. Tomorrow it will be another one, 1:30 to 3:30 near Belleville Boulevard and North Front Street. If you could join, if not, you can just wave at us. But the thing is that people have a certain level of tolerance, and there is what I call an outrage overload. And those IOF forces, those Israelis, work on multiple levels, and one level is psychological level. And they exhaust people, their ability to complain or outrage or resist. And they tell you one thing, but reality is different. They try to calm you down and soothe you with soft words and different language that kind of makes sense to you, but really it's nothing to do with reality. They did this, there were huge protests and movements that were building up, and they were increasing by every week by week throughout the world. And then they decided to have this ceasefire thing happening, exchange of, you probably heard that, release the hostages and everything will be okay, and do this and that, and then that happened, ceasefire happened, the hostages were released, the supposed ceasefire was supposed to take place, and that's where the world thought that it has ended, and all the protests kind of calmed down a little bit. But reality didn't change. The genocide didn't stop, didn't take a pause even for a single hour. Children kept getting murdered, the tents getting burned, hospitals and whatever remains of their buildings or structure to survive were constantly bombed. But the world thought it's a ceasefire. It was nothing but ceasefire. And we need to take some action to bring it back to the world stage. And the Flotilla mission has its own perpetual recurrence every year, sometimes multiple years. And I wanted to join that. I also went or tried to go to a march to Gaza. That was a land march last year, where people were expected to march from Egypt towards Gaza through the desert. That didn't happen, but it did awaken people, showed people that the so-called government of Egypt, they are also hypocrites, and they actually blocked, on behalf of Israel, they blocked these activists and even captured them and abducted them. And I tried to go there, I couldn't go there. And last year I also wanted to go to Flotilla, but due to some scheduling, I was not able to. And this year I made sure I take the time to fulfill their requirement and approach them at the right time and meet their deadlines. And I was happy and blessed that I was chosen. And many people were not accepted. 500 were accepted, but many more were rejected for certain reasons.
No, I got no question.
Another question?
Yes, Shahid, you said that there are no governments speaking on behalf of Gaza, but can you imagine that there could be a court of some kind, like the Nuremberg trials, that could bring these people to justice?
Yes, definitely. There is a court already, International Court of Justice, and ICC, International Criminal Court, and both have declared that Israel is committing genocide. But the thing is, these countries who made up UN, or the countries who are the actual fuel of UN, who run the UN, are the ones who are actually criminal, who are complicit in this whole genocide. And it's like asking the criminal to try yourself into the court of law and accuse yourself of doing a crime. Imagine that. US is sanctioning people who are part of the International Court of Justice. Anyone, Francesca Albanese, of course, you know, had been sanctioned. Her credit cards were blocked and her bank accounts were seized simply because she was speaking for Palestine. And those are the power who are supposed to bring justice. And this is what we're demanding justice from. That's a very tough fight. They're all corrupt. They're all complicit.
Thank you for your presentation. Thank you for reinforcing our commitment. I come from Kingston, we have a vigil every week. And I don't, we get a lot of honking. I don't think it's forgotten amongst ordinary people. I think it's just people don't know what to do within. So I wanted to give that comment. But I want to say, I'm going to ask a question which we may not be able to answer, and may not be fair to ask, but I'm not surprised that our banker, Prime Minister, is what he is, and doesn't deal with this the way it should be dealt with. But I wonder about, and so I'm not surprised about the whole imperial powers doing nothing, and there are a few that deserve mention, but overall, they are just letting Israel get away with this.
Right.
But I wonder about the Middle East people and the Middle East and why it isn't rising up against this.
Yeah, that's a horrible situation. It's like the people of the entire region. First of all, in Middle East, there is no democracy, as you know, and even the dictatorship is very brutal. Any kind of protest is prohibited. UAE, for example, Dubai, etc. It's not really a real country of the people. They're just people who come there for work, and they're really very small fraction who are actually the part of the ruling elite. They don't tolerate any kind of protest or anything disagreeing with them. And they are, of course, hand in hand with Israel, as we have learned recently. They're supporting them, they're providing bases to them, they're providing airspace, they're providing fuel. So they are their buddies. They would not allow anyone to speak against them. And anyone who speaks against them, and there are people who have tried, some from Pakistan, they capture them and they disappear. They do exactly same type of torture that Israel does to the Palestinians. They kept them in prisons and they've dehumanize them, they brutalize them with unspeakable things, and starve them, and some of them die, and some others, nobody sees them ever again. So yeah, they're responsible for it, including Middle East, including the rest of the world, and still the hope is with the people, the humanity. The humanity is in majority. The people who are good are in majority compared to the people who are bad. And that is what faith that everyone should know, which will bring us a brighter future, as long as we do not give up, because you only lose when you give up. That is the quote of my spiritual inspiring leader, Imran Khan. And that's what at least keeps me going on. If things are working, if things are not going as expected, that's what keeps me going on, because I will never give up. I will never surrender. I will not shut up. I will not be quiet. I will keep going. And that's what everyone should believe, that perseverance is your biggest strength. That is what they're afraid of. That is the perseverance that Gaza has shown them. That is the perseverance that they cannot deal with. They cannot bomb it. They cannot kill it. They cannot destroy it. They just will have to give up, and time will come, and it will come in my lifetime, that they will be dismantled, they will be removed, and this horror will end. Inshallah. Sami.
Okay, I just wanted to add to your statement about BDS. Costco has a brand called Keter or something, K-E-T-R. They make garden products like sheds and tables and stuff like that. And that's an Israeli company, and they are, yeah, that's just another one that might be on people's radar when you're going to Costco to look for patio products. And then just a reminder that there are local businesses that are Zionist and supporting Israel, and kind of, if you want to check them out on social media first or see what kind of posts they have, and you can learn a little bit more about their politics if you're going up that alley.
Yep. Thank you, Sami. She's from Picton. She's our partner activist group from Prince Edward County, and they hold rallies and events. Most notable one was the last year, in which they hosted event in Picton Library. Is Canada complicit in genocide? The answer was yes.
Hi there.
Yes, that's true.
I'm just curious what social media platforms you could recommend that we follow.
So yeah, they're all controlled, but we use what we can use. So we have Instagram and Facebook. Other than that, I personally rely on X for some of the information, because some of the journalists in Gaza actually use it and provide truthful information directly from the source. X, like Twitter and X. It's of course owned by Zionist Elon Musk, but you do get to reach out the actual source, which is, most of them are actually from Gaza. So that's what we mostly rely on. Sorry?
Blue Sky.
Blue Sky is one, yes. Blue Sky is one. Blue Sky is a Zionist equivalent of Twitter, and there is Upscrolled. I forgot to mention, is the one that you can refer to, upscroll.com. Yeah, and there's a flyer over there. You can take a picture. That's our social media, which is Belleville for Justice and Peace. You can search for it. We have Facebook and Instagram, and there's a website. But there is also a mailing list. It's called bellevillejusticepeace@gmail.com. If you send email, and we'll add you into the mailing list, so you know the upcoming action or any information that we have. Question?
So this is the first time that I've seen firsthand, looking at pictures, everything that's happening. And I'm going to say I was ignorant to the fact that it was severe to civilians like you, people who are just doing humanitarian things. Have you guys ever taken pictures from this and put your words in a documentary to maybe put at the Empire or to reach a bigger audience in this area and other areas?
Yeah, so the question is, have we thought about putting these images and videos? This is horrific. This happened to really civilians like me, who's speaking with you directly one-to-one. It happened to I was one of them. this is exactly the place. It's in Ashdod port where they took us and they put us into this position for 3 hours, and with no water, no food, no nothing. But yeah, that's also a good thought. I think some people are thinking about it, but I think as we are unwinding and finding out what is our next step, that could be one of them. Yeah. So I think it will be very effective. Yes.
And bigger audiences.
Bigger audience. Yeah. So right now people are just documenting that in bits and pieces through their own social media outlets. There are multiple activists who are with me. Sebastian, Safa, they were Canadian. They're very good audience presence, and they keep on sharing parts and moments. But
Put it all together.
yeah, all together is also a good idea. I think I'll, right. I think, yeah, I'll think about it.
We're on it.
Okay, good, yeah.
Shahid, I have a question.
Yeah.
Thank you for thank you for being a warrior and doing what needs to be done.
Yeah.
I wonder, in your personal opinion, how do you respond to the criticism of the flotilla that it's really ineffective way to get aid, and that so much of aid is ending up at the bottom of the ocean?
Yeah, so thank you very much, and thank you for donating this warrior bracelet. I would not consider myself warrior or hero of any kind. I'm just a representative of humanity. I'm just doing what has to be done, and I'm just a placeholder. Anyone could have been in my place. So it's just something that I feel honored to be part of it. In terms of criticism, yes, there is a coordinated campaign against Flotilla. And I think they're failing on making any point at all, because if you try to accuse of multiple things, then you actually confuse people and you make fun of yourself. So first they said this is a Hamas-related thing, and these are like a supporter of Hamas, which didn't fly well. And then they said these flotillas have, they are terrorists. That also didn't go well, because we showed them baby food that we literally were carrying in diapers, and they were afraid of diapers and baby food, so they embarrassed themselves as well. Thirdly, the aid is destroyed. Yes, we know that they're trying to destroy the aid, and part of it was destroyed, but part of it was recovered. The point is that if a criminal continues to do a crime, it does not mean the crime becomes legal. It does not mean we should stop calling it a crime. We will continue to object to it. We will continue to fight back. We will continue to show this is wrong. You must not do it. If you destroy it, it does not mean that we will stop doing it. We will continue to do what we have to do. We will persevere. If you keep on doing what you're doing, that continues to add on to your crimes, and you will be brought to justice one day, and every crime will be added on, and we're keeping track of everything you're doing. So that's why we continue to resist. We will keep doing it.
I wanted to thank you for your inspiring steadfastness. And if I could just take a moment to mention again, as Matthew mentioned, we're from Kingston, and we have a vigil there every Wednesday from 3:30 to 5 at the west end of the third crossing, the Waban crossing. And if anybody's interested in going on our mailing list, the email is right here. There is a special event next Wednesday, which is Canada Day.
Yes.
And there's a poster here with information about it, but basically we called the event From Turtle Island to Palestine, Colonization is Crime. And it will be from 12 to 3 p.m. And if anybody wants to take a photo of the poster, there's one on each table back here. But thank you again for your time.
Yes, thank you for mentioning that, please, everyone. Next Wednesday, Canada Day in Kingston. That's the event that's going on.
Well, I think we have to wrap it up now. We have to be out of this building in 20 minutes. We got to rearrange stuff. And,
All right.
I would like to thank you all for coming. I'm impressed with how many people turned out. I mean, I know it's not the whole population of Belleville and Kingston, but it's pretty good, you know.
Yes, thank you very much, everyone, and please help yourself with the food. I think we have more food than people have consumed, so there's still some left there. Thank you.
That's okay, yeah.